Hello and welcome. This is Silverox, and on today's episode we are going to be making the Star Wars Rebel darksaber. Like always, if you want to download this, go to my Patreon at patreon.com/silverox. With only a $2 subscription, you will be able to get every single one of the projects I have made in the past and will be making in the future. Now, getting started, let's start by setting up everything we need to do. I'm going to start by displaying the screen display so you know what keys I'm pressing at a time, like right there. Change the view and delete everything that's on the screen. I am going to be adding a background image. I don't have that set up, I pretty much just googled it. And this is going to be our reference for the papercraft we are going to be making. Starting by importing the cursor at the center and adding a plane, adding it to view so it's easier to manipulate, giving us a little bit more space by decreasing the size of it. All we are going to be using for now is the mirror modifier in the future. So going into edit mode, I'm going to pull this up about halfway to the blade, now a little bit down right here. I am doing this because in the show, pretty much from here to the bottom, this is where it starts to make the edge of the blade, so I'm going to start to shorten this into an edge later on. Pull this so it goes over the edge of the blade, and pull this so it goes almost all the way to the point of the blade, but it stops right where this angle starts. So we are going to extrude this and pull this outward all the way to this second point, and now we are going to bring it up, trying to make this distance from here almost the same as this one. Doesn't need to be perfect though. There we go. Now selecting all three of these vertices, we are going to extrude this down, and I'm going to pull it slightly forward so that this vertices matches up like that, and this one matches like this. Now I'm going to scale this on the y-axis. You see this green line appears. Press 0 and enter. This will align all my vertices and the y-axis. Extrude this again. Press W, merge at center, and pull it up so that the line is flat again. We are left with the almost completed shape of the blade. Press A to select and deselect everything. Press the key to make a cut, and make a cut along the line of the blade like this, and delete all of this. We don't need this anymore. Going into front view, selecting everything again and pulling this to the side. Making sure, there we go. And we are now going to add the mirror modifier to it. Okay, it wants to do it on the x-axis. Turn on clipping and going to extrude this like that, but as you can see there are faces in the middle right here. When it comes to exporting this into a papercraft model, this can't be here because it thinks that these are two different meshes and it doesn't give you the place to glue them together. So what we are going to do, extrude them almost all the way, add a cut loop in the middle, and deleting this one. What that makes, it makes this completely open. With that opening, make sure that clipping is on and move them together till they are like this. We cannot separate them now because these now are one single vertices each. Now adjusting the width of the blade, yeah, that should be fine right there. As you can see, the blade now is turned completely black. That's because the faces are inverted, so we're going to select everything, Control N, and that will adjust the normal of the faces. Now what we are going to do is select what is going to be the entire edge of the blade, going into front view, and now we are going to merge these together at the center right there. But that doesn't really help us. Well, for example, if I am moving this vertex to the middle, it will clip onto the one on the other side, but if I am moving this one to the middle, it will not clip to the existing one. So we are going to have to merge this all manually by doing that. The other solution to doing that is pretty much just doing like this and removing the double. As you can see, it moved 3 vertices. Those were the 3 extra vertices from the middle it removed. Those are 2 different ways of doing the same thing. Right here, in the show, this piece here is one complete piece, but this the very end of the blade right here, I am going to be making this part of the actual blade. By doing that, place a cut right there, and I think that should be fine. Select the top one. What happened? Oh, I have that one selected. Okay, now it should work fine. Extrude that and bring it back. Do the same process we did before. Scale it on the y-axis. Press 0 to bring that completely flat, and whoops, and bring it back. And bring it forward like this. I'm going to add a cut loop right here so that I can bring this up right here and not mess with the form of the blade. And there we go. This is the basic form that we are going to give the blade. Now point the cursor back at the center, and now we are going to create we are going to create a circle for this one. Going to front view, align to view, and let's see, 14, maybe less, 12. Yeah, that should be fine. Going to scale it down. Go into edit mode without moving it out of the place. In edit mode, bring it back and pretty much size it up so that it matches the form of the hilt. There we go, that's about it. And on the front view, we are going to scale it only on the x-axis. As you can see, the red line appears and the scaling only worked on the x-axis. And I'm going to bring it about that. This will give it a nice oval shape. I'm going to make it slightly bigger. There we go, slightly bigger, so that I have some space between the blade itself and the edge of the hilt. With that done, I'm going to bring this back so that it matches the bottom of the hilt, and I'm going to extrude it all the way forward like this. And right here I'm going to stop. There are a few ways to give it this nice little straight line. The first way is to press Shift, Control, Alt and S. I believe it will be in the Z axis. There we go. And this allows me to alter the angle like this. Yeah, this is fine. The other way to do this would be using the K key by doing a simple cut. The difference is by using the K key, even when you have transparency on, it still only cuts through half of the hilt itself, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to leave it with this one on. I'm actually going to alter this slightly. There we go. Now selecting only these vertices, Shift D to duplicate it, and I'm going to bring it forward. Going to extrude it again by pressing E. Bring it all the way here and repeat the process we used before. On the Z axis again, and this should be fine right here. Bring it slightly forward. I want this to pretty much remove this gap right here between the blade and the hilt. There we go, that's fine. Now I'm going to fix the normals here. Now hide everything we did, and we are going to cursor to the center and add a plane. With this plane we move it over here and shrink it down by using the S key. Bring it so that the edges barely touch the line where the hilt of the blade is going to be, because putting this into paper format, what happens, this edge needs to have a gap, otherwise the blade won't actually fit inside the handle, so I'm going to give it a little bit more of a gap. Scale it on the x-axis, making sure that there's a gap here as well. Duplicate this down, making sure that yes, it is with a slight gap itself. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a gap here, and pretty much just unite the edges. That makes the sleeve that's going to be wrapping around this part of the blade. Now press Alt H to bring back everything that we hid, and we are going to be deleting the entire side of this. I'm going to be adding a cut loop in the middle so that when merging all of this together, that forms a complete sleeve. Otherwise this would be like this, since there will be no edges in the middle, vertices in the middle. And with this we are going to add another mirror modifier to it, turning on clipping so that everything stays attached. And now we are going to be making the same process we did before, but to align all of these. I'm going to do it slightly different this time. Selecting everything, SY0 and enter to make it so that everything is perfectly aligned. And repeat the process we did before, to making the angle that's going to be fitting right here a little bit more, and this should be fine. I'm going to be deleting this entire thing. I actually decided to redo it. I'm going to pull this backward and align it with the same process we have been using until now. Yeah, that will form a perfectly straight edge. Otherwise what would happen is, since this will not be properly aligned, it will be probably like that. This would be bulging forward, and when it comes to exporting this, that would mean that you would have to make a lot more cuts to make this right. So like that, it's a simple face from top to bottom, nothing special. Duplicate this. This does duplicate the sleeve and the handle all in one. I changed my mind now. Let's just close this before we go further. Closing it is simple. What you are looking for when it comes to doing this kind of thing, you don't actually want a face that has more than 4 vertices on it, because if you do that, it's not a big of a problem. You can just add a triangulator modifier to it. The problem is, if it does have more than 4 vertices, Pepakura tends to think that that's more than one face, and it tends to cut it, but it doesn't give you a place to glue it back together. So when it print out, it doesn't have that paper flap that allows you to glue the two parts together. It's just a precaution, it's nothing really that important. Now extrude this, duplicate the face and extrude it forward, and repeat what we did before. Shift Ctrl Alt S, then press the Z key, and that allows you to alter the angle of this. Oh look, we did it almost perfect this time. Actually no, let's give it more. I was looking at the bottom piece here, I didn't notice the top one. Actually I have to leave it like this because of the angle I put on the blade itself. Yeah, it doesn't matter. This piece is now done. And now let's close the end here. The same thing we did before. making sure that we have faces with 3 vertices or 4 vertices, never more than that, and everything is closed. I'm going to alter this because let me face. As you can see here, yes, there's going to be a form of slightly gap inside. I don't want that, so I'm going to bring this forward. That should make a nice clean bottom for the hilt. Next, what we are going to do is make the guard. Now for the guard, as you can see, I have already made the gap in here. When it comes to building this will be going first, then the guard, then the bottom part of the hilt. But for now, cursor to selected, I'm going to add a cube on it. Go into edit mode, shrink it down and bring it back here. I changed my mind, I don't want the cube, I just want a plane. And now I have to make sure that the angle that's on this piece is the same that the angle that's on the hilt itself. There we go, this is what I want. With this set, we're going to cut it in half and add the mirror modifier to it. I'm going to hide the hilt so I have more space to work with. Now all I'm going to do is add a few cut loops right here, always leaving some space between the cut loop itself and the stock for the blade. For example, right now I have added this too close to the blade, but if I try to move it, it breaks the line we created. So to fix that, press W. Sorry, not W, Control E and edge slide. That from the side, Control E, edge slide. That allows you to move an edge along a face without distorting the form of the face. And now the last loop we need is one right here at the side. I'm going to add another on the middle so that I can delete this vertex, and there's a nice hole in there. Now selecting everything, I exit edit mode so I can bring back the hilt. Now we're going to extrude this on the y-axis, making sure this actually can be slightly tight because this is merely a sleeve. So this part goes forward, next one, so this gap will always be closed. Going at the top, add another edge loop, select these, extrude them, size them in the y-axis so that it is straight, and we are left with this. Now selecting only this, the outermost vertices, I'm going to pull it out to give the slight width to it, like that. This should be fine. Fix the normals to fix this, and there we go, the hilt is on. Now all we are missing is these decorative pieces, so let's do those. We are going to add those with the cube. This time it's really going to be a cube. We are going to bring them forward like this, making sure it's properly sized. Bring it up, and in the front view, make sure that let me cut this in half so I can mirror it. The only advantage mirror is bringing me on this is so that I don't have to work on both sides at once. So let's fix this. Now this, in the drawing we have, you can see them, they protrude slightly from the hilt itself, so that's what I'm going to make here. And yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. Now what we are going to do is make cuts on it. And once again, I should have only added a plane because I'm doing this. Cut, 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 and cut. Always making sure that there's a space between the two meshes you are adding. Delete these. As you can see here, this face has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vertices. You can't actually export this safely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pretty much cut this so that only faces with 4 vertices. Yeah, so that we have only faces with 4 vertices. As you can see here, this one has 5 vertices, so we are going to add another cut right here. And that should create faces with only 4 vertices. This one 4, this one 4, this one 4, this one 4. This is actually exactly what we need. Select everything with A, extrude it, and there we go. Fix normals. With everything selected, press Shift D. Now we are going to press G, Y, point 1 and enter. And I'm going to repeat that process until it reaches the end. Or again, Shift E, enter, G, Y, point 1, enter, and pretty much repeat the process until it reaches the end. GY, point 1, Control D, GY, point 1, Control D, GY, point 1, and yeah, this is actually quite boring to do. GY, point 1, and there we go. Of course it did. What happened there? I'm going to have to fix this. I press G, X, point 1, no, minus 1, minus point 1, there we go. GX minus point 1. What happened there is I accidentally did the movement by point 1, but I didn't press the Y key, so that going to the Y axis, so it just clicks on the X axis by itself. Now this is pretty much the format of the blade. Now I don't need this, so I'm going to hide it for now. I didn't delete it, just hidden. And we are going to be working on completely texturing this, giving it the same texture that you can see on the show. To start that, select the blade, then select everything else and press Ctrl J. What that does, that's make everything into one plane or one type of mesh. That's going to be easier for me to texture it. I'm going to go into cycles render. But like, nothing changed, don't worry. The only difference here is the way that the game shows what we have done. I'm going to put this into rendered view, and we can see a preview of what this is supposed to look like. It's completely gray. So let's go into the wall options and put the different color on this. Yeah, just leave it at white. Okay, I'll leave it at gray for now. We are going to select this, change this view for now into a UV image editor, and what I'm going to do is Ctrl L to select the blade, making sure that one vertex is selected, and Ctrl L selects the entire blade. Shift H to hide everything but the blade. I'm going to add a loop cut right here at the bottom, we will see why later. And I'm going to select everything but this small part on the end. Press O, Smart UV Project, and there we go. Whoops, I forgot to apply the mirror modifier to it. Yeah, we have to apply it in order to export it, so I'm actually debating doing it now. No, you know what? add the mirror to it. I'm actually going to leave it for now like this. Smart UV project. Yes, that's what I want. I'm going to leave it like this because that way, once the texture is done, the UV map for one side will be the same for the other. So what will happen is the image that's going to be on this side is going to be perfectly replicated on this side as well. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now making sure to bring everything back in. And we are going to do now, select that, Ctrl L to select all of it, and I'm going to deselect this. The way you deselect something by pressing B and holding Shift, I'm gonna hide all of this. No, I'm going to need this and hide all of this. What happens now is I have the bottom part that's protruding out of the stock, and I also have the complete handle, and I'm going to Smart UV project all of this. I'm doing this because the texture that's going to be on the handle is going to be on the bottom part of the blade itself, so this part needs to be in the same UV map as the handle. Now we did the UV unwrapping, so I'm going to back to 3D view and render, and I'm going to put this one in Note Editor. Press N to clear that and give us a little bit more space, bring everything out. There we go. Now going into the texture, the materials section, I'm going to select everything, add a new material, and it automatically appears in our Note Editor. We have the diffuse BDSN, we are going to use this and another diffuse. We are going to be pretty much making the swirl pattern that happens when you turn on the blade. So to do that, we are going to want the texture and a wave texture, and duplicating this one, and we are going to add a mix shader to this. So shader, mix shaders added there, making sure that this we have a black one and a white one. At the moment what's happening, it's mixing the two colors together, so we can see it goes either to pure white or to pure black. We don't want that. What we want is to use the wave texture we've created and add it to the factorial of the mix shader. And what that does, as you can see right here, I'm going to bring it closer, it pulls the wave texture with these two colors. So now what we are going to do is alter the distortion of this. More. Yeah, this should be fine. Add more detail to it. Reduce this, change the scales. Put this as 1. And change it from there. Let's add more to it. Okay, this should be fine right here. But as you can see, this doesn't look very much like the darksaber, because what the darksaber has is a completely black saw blade with a few white highlights. This is a completely blended mixture between the white and the black. So what we are going to do is going to go into the converter, matte converters, and add a few matte converters to this. And let's try a few things. Subtract, multiply. There's a lot of things you can do here, so I'm going to try and do this a different way. Move these out of the way. Go into there. So let's see, we are going to subtract all of both of these. Let's see if maximum makes any difference. I'm actually playing around with the settings on this because I don't actually have a complete idea of how to make this look exactly like the blade, but so this is just me testing what is going to work or not. So now let me alter the values on this. Okay, this should be fine. Let's put this 50, this 25, and work from here. Okay, 50 is actually far too much. Let's put it back at 0.8. That seems to give us the maximum dark surface. 0.9 still works, so let's add some more distortion to this. Let me see if the multiply actually does any better. No. Let's just put it in subtract mode. I don't assume multiply does anything. So let's change these. No, it makes no difference. So actually multiply actually works quite well. That means I can reduce the distortion on this. Yeah, sorry for that, that's my dog. Let me change the scale. I want to try something else. Let me try, instead of a wave texture, a noise texture. See if that makes any difference. No. The wave texture still seems to be my best option when it comes to achieving what I want, so let's keep it like that, leave that, we don't need it. Maybe I will leave it like this. This doesn't look like completely like what I want, but it's fine. Let me reduce the scale and see if this did it. Yeah, the problem is it wants to go from one side to the other. But it's fine, I'm going to leave it like that, increase the scale just slightly so it gives a lot more lines on it. And before I actually end this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add an image texture to this. Going back to the UV image editor, I'm going to create two new textures. One is going to be called blade, and the other is going to be called handle. And since we are texturing the blade, we are going to open up, cancel this, open up the blade texture and select it, making sure that this is selected. We are going to leave it like this. We are not going to touch this any further, for now at least, and we're going to add a new material. With this new material added, I'm going to select all of these three, Ctrl L, and select the bottom part of the blade like we did before, making sure that the blade itself is not selected. We are going to assign it to this. As you can see on the back here, the blade itself will become pretty gray because we have no materials on it, so we're going to add a new one. Now this material should be quite easy to do, since we only need a slight blue texture to this. I'm going to try and work out what kind of blue textures I want on this. This should be fine. And now we are going to add a noise texture to this, and this noise texture is merely going to add like this. It's going to add some slight distortions to the texture itself. So, but we can't really see this, so let's fix this. First things first, get out of edit mode and add a camera to this. So lamp camera, press Z to go into the camera view, not Z, 0. Making sure that lock view camera to view it's on. Press N to get out of that menu. I'm going to just center this on the end of the blade, and going back to this screen, press 0, and we are on the camera view. So we press 0 again on this screen to get out of the camera view. My god, so many camera views. And we are going to add, I said add a plane to this. I'm going to size this plane out. The reason why I added the camera is so that the plane doesn't interfere in this view. Let's adjust this to like this, and we are going to add a new material to this, making sure the color is white, and it's going to be an emission. As you can already see, since this is an emission, it is projecting light into our model, so I'm already seeing that this is far too much for baby blue. I want different blue on this one. That's why you need to add lights to this. I'm going to duplicate this, rotate it so it faces that, shrink it down, add a new material to it, make it sure that it's an emission again, with the emission, and change the value to 3, and duplicate this again. The reason I'm adding a new material, if I alter this, I'm going to alter the material on this one, and I don't want that. So let's keep it like this, rotate it to face the blade, making sure that's up so that it just doesn't show on the render view. Add a new one, material 4, another emission, and this we are going to crank up so it gives out more light than the other two. And there we go. This should allow us to work on the blade very well by seeing the colors we are working with. And I'm going to darken this. Maybe remove even, no, that's going to match the green. Yeah, this looks fine to me. Making sure it's darker again. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. Change the scale. As you can see right here, it's forming darker spots. If you were to see the sample image we have on the background, this is pretty much what's on the blade. It's this kind of mixture. I'm actually moving the blade. No, I'm moving the camera. Okay, that scared me for a moment there. So the shaders for the blade are actually done, but there's a problem. If we go into texture mode, we actually can't see anything. That's because there are no textures. This is merely a shader that's going to appear on render view, but never on the texture view. The problem is if we were to export this with this, the Pepakura model won't actually have any texture. It'll be a simple blank texture, and we can't have that, so we have to do. That's easy. Add a new texture to this, and this new texture we are going to make select the handle. We are not going to connect this to anything, but we are going to select it, and now making sure that both of these are selected, going into the scene builder, going into the UV image editor. We are okay. This doesn't bother with the UV image editor. Bring it over here. Making sure that this part is already selected. There we go. The blade is now in place, and we are going to go back down here where it says render. You should want to increase this to an higher count. I won't, because that takes quite a lot of time. We are going to go back down and make sure that your bake tab is set to combine, and now you press bake. what happens is, since you have this texture selected, it's going to bake everything that you have made into the shaders into the texture right here. Now just making sure that that's finishing. This is at 10 render, and look how long this is taking. Usually if you are rendering textures, you should have this like 300 maybe, just to give a decent texture. That takes quite a bit of time. And there we go. We have our textures made. Now I'm going to save these in the same folder I'm working, blade and handle. Save as image, handle, there we go. Now since I have done this, I'm going to front view, save what I want, what I have, apply the mirror, and I'm actually going to delete everything but the blade, and I'm going to export the blade as an OBJ file. There we go. Since I exported it as an OBJ file, this appears. This is the OBJ file, is simply associated with Pepakura Viewer, and now we have a few problems. Now these problems are easy to fix. What happens is, this right here, it didn't merge at the center, this didn't merge properly either, and this didn't merge properly either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the Blender. When you go back into Blender, I'm going to fix all of these edges, making sure that they are all properly connected, and I'm going to export that again, and I'm going to come back when all of this is properly fixed. Well, the problem now is fixed. What happened is, one of the vertices was pulled to the side, so it wasn't merging with the one for the other side. For some reason the sleeve, I deleted the sleeve for some reason back here, and on the guard there were faces all along the center of the guard when I made the guard, so I don't know how that happened either, but it's not a problem now, it's completely fixed. Now all we have to do is unfold this, and we are left with everything in one page. And now I actually know how long this needs to be. When it comes to the depth, this is about 80 centimeters long, so I need to put this at 800, and this is pretty much what I'm getting. Now I'm going to need to rearrange this so that all of this fits inside pages and there's no overlapping on the outside, and that's actually going to be done post video. In the future, oh wait, before I forgot, I actually need to add the textures. And there we go. For some reason I forgot to add the texture, so I need to fix the texture there, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, if you like this, you already know where to get this since you are watching the entire video. I will be making this in the future. I may actually try to make like a paper model of this and then harden it with resin and paint it myself, not the textures that are present here. So with that said, thank you for watching, subscribe to my video, comment and rate it.